Who wrote the Bible? I've never gotten the right answer since I've asked that question. Every time I ask them face to face, who wrote the Bible? They don't have no idea. They start telling me the apostles' names, Judas and John and all these. No, they wrote nothing. Those men were illiterate men. They couldn't even read or write. They were illiterate people. The Bible was written from 100 AD to 900 AD by Phoenicians, followers of Hermes, Thoth, the Atlantean priest king. That's who wrote the Bible, and they didn't write a Bible. What they did was they started copying ancient texts from all over the world, remnants of the Library of Alexandria, copying these ancient texts onto different parchment papers and stuffing them inside of vases and jars inside of caves. Over time, between 100 AD to 900 AD, people, explorers and archaeologists, coming across these vases and opening them up, finding all these ancient writings. These ancient writings were copied from, okay, let me translate this tablet onto this writing, onto this parchment paper, and then must store it away, right? They would study these things and read them inside of caves in the middle of the night and stuff like that. And the proof is in the pudding. You can go back and you can find those same exact quotes and statements and words out of the ancient text. It comes right from there. Some of it copied word for word directly onto these parchment papers. Then later, people who discovered these things, eventually they came together and brought them all together and said, hey, let's make a canonized book out of this. And that's when the Council of Nicaea got together and they started going through and curating what they would put into this canonized Bible and what they would not put into the canonized Bible. And then when they got to a good mix of neuroscience where they knew they can utilize this information to control masses of people, they said, we're going to put this one out right here. Boom. We altered this. We changed that. We mistranslated this by accident on purpose. We changed this around. We put this over here. We moved this around. We took out the part talking about aliens. We took out the part talking about spaceships and UFOs. Okay, so now I think we got something here. We can dominate the planet with this.
So Billy Carson recently hosted a 3.5-hour live stream to address his poor debate performance against Russ Huff. But instead of him redeeming himself, it became one of the most painful self-inflicted disasters that I've ever seen. His own fans turned on him in the comments as he spiraled, made excuses, unveiled plans to silence Christian creators, and revealed how he really feels about Christianity.
What is a sadistic narcissist? Let's take a look at some of the traits and see if we can compare them to this quote-unquote God of the Bible.
As well as poor people who work a 9 to 5.
I let a lot of it slip because a lot of these people are just ignorant poor people. They're just poor people. I'm not a Joe Schmo 9 to 5 worker bee.
So honestly, this one was an absolute mess, but you don't have to sit through all 3.5 hours. I've broken down the most important moments, covering the fallout, the debate response, and the meltdown. So let's dive in because this is going to be an eye-opening reveal about the real Billy Carson. So Billy's livestream was supposed to expose the fake debate that he recently took part in, but quickly spiraled into disaster. He started by announcing lawsuits against everyone involved, the host, the opponent, and even the editor. But it wasn't long before his fans started turning on him in droves. They were furious that he wouldn't admit to an obvious loss. I had to unsubscribe. It's one thing to be a sore loser, but to not admit defeat means you cannot learn or grow due to no lesson being received. Billy brother, I really want to see you win, but you're fighting against your own message right now. I hope you can recover from this, but you have to look in the mirror because this behavior is unacceptable. Really? Billy, you should be 100% honest when you discuss what happened. You are not building credibility, and I am a fan of yours. I used to like this guy, but literally 5 minutes into this video, I was done with him. But for some fans, the frustration went even deeper. Several other commenters pointed out something even more troubling about Billy's response. You should take this video down. Most of your fans are poor people. The poor people are the ones who made you powerful. So what did Billy say on his live stream that drove his fans to say this? Well, it started with Billy unnecessarily and continuously humble bragging about how much money that he has in a way that felt tone deaf and out of touch with his audience.
We have 5 AC units, and I don't even know which one of them is acting up. I normally take the elevator upstairs. I've had a chef for 10 years, and they like the food from coming over and eating the food at our house, and now they share our chef. We are hopping off of a private jet. We relaxed in a huge 8,500 square foot mansion with our best friends on a tiny private island. I'm actually sleeping in my movie theater in my house. I have a movie theater. I'm sleeping in the movie theater.
But what really set fans off was his blatant mockery about those who he deemed poor, especially 9-to-5 workers.
This is what they try to do when you get famous. You see? I let a lot of it slip because a lot of these people are just ignorant, poor people. You know, they're just poor people. They're just ignorant. So I let a lot of it, you know, whatever, man. These people are just poor dummies. You know, what can you do? I make more money than rappers. I'm not a Joe Schmo 9-to-5 worker bee. You thought I was just some dumb black guy that just happened to get a little lucky with a couple of clips online and gain some popularity. Like Kendrick Lamar say, they not like us. They not like us.
Now, first off, you can't quote Kendrick while you're acting like Drake. And secondly, now this earlier comment suddenly makes more sense. But if obliviously mocking his fans wasn't bad enough, Billy took things to another level when he admitted this.
The money that you thought you were making and the popularity you thought you were making is all going to be spent on attorney's fees. And I don't care if I win or lose. I just want you to spend money.
Now, if you aren't aware, what he just admitted to was filing what's called slap lawsuits, which are designed to silence critics and burden the defendant with legal costs until they abandon their criticism. And he even went so far as to say that he's gonna sue the host of the podcast for
$1 million and possibly even more.
Now, not only does admitting this ruin the little bit of chances that he had at winning the lawsuit, but it also opens him up to counter lawsuits. And unsurprisingly, fans and critics alike saw this as a massive overreaction to a debate being published. But as we'll see next, Billy's excuses and evidence for his debate performance didn't just fail to clear his name, they made things far worse, with some even calling him a fraud. So we left off with some people considering Billy to be a fraud. This all stemmed from his poor performance in a recent debate, which anyone that was familiar with Wes and Billy's work knew exactly how it was gonna go.
Billy Carson,
that
that dude, sat down with Wes Huff. Bro, it was a slaughter.
Yeah,
And given the fact that they were right, Billy tried to excuse his performance with some, let's just call them questionable arguments. The first explanation he gave was that he was incredibly sick, claiming that he nearly died of pneumonia days before the debate. And he showed proof of this by showing this band-aid on his arm.
And being in that weakened state, which he knew he caught me at one of my most weakest states. He saw how I only weighed 206 pounds. And again, I was so sick and ill, to be quite honest with you. Maybe I did bumble my words a couple times with the Sinai Bible or the Barnabas text. It's quite possible. I thought we were having a casual conversation on spirituality, and I wasn't really even fully in my right mind. I just almost died a few days before going to his house, literally. And so he took advantage of that.
Now, to be clear, I don't have any strong reason to doubt that he was sick and was actually in the hospital days before the debate. And by the way, I'm glad that he didn't die and he's better now. But if this illness really did cause him to get things wrong, then what's his excuse for saying the exact same things on podcasts before the debate?
Never got crucified. As a matter of fact, the Sinai Bible, Jesus was crucified. Well, that doesn't exist in the Sinai Bible. The Sinai Bible. The Sinai Bible. But then you go to the Sinai Bible. In the Sinai Bible. And the Sinai Bible. According to the Sinai Bible, Jesus wasn't crucified in that Bible.
And how was he able, on the night of the debate, to go to the host's house at 2:30 in the morning while the host's wife and kids were sleeping? And immediately after the host didn't answer, he had enough energy to do this.
I come back to the house. I'm extremely angry and I'm extremely frustrated that I wasn't able to contact him. His phone was in do not disturb mode. So I tried to call first. I tried to call him like 4 or 5 times, evidenced in my phone records. I texted him 5 or 6 times. I also texted him a copy of my do not consent, and I WhatsApped him a copy of my do not consent form at the same time.
But even worse, he says that he's now...
I'm not the same almost half dead person that you tried to talk to a few weeks ago. I've gotten my clear mind back. My brain fog is gone. My body weight's coming back. I'm lifting and working out every single day. I'm getting stronger by the second. I'm not that weak, sick person that just almost died that was in the hospital, coming on a show on a video feed with a IV bandage on, literally fresh off the IV tree, the big tree with all the different IV bags and all the antibiotics and everything else dripping into my body. Fresh off the bag. I'm in the studio, out of boredom, really. But brain fog, tired, exhausted, can't breathe. I only got about 2 more weeks of recovery left from this pneumonia, and I'll be full strength.
Now, if that's true, then why not debate again? Wes even offered to take the video down if Billy agreed to another debate.
Billy, I will agree to all the terms and conditions of the cease and desist letter if you agree to run it back, sit down with me in person, and have another discussion.
But it seems that Billy doesn't want to take that chance. Billy's second excuse for his poor performance was that he was ambushed. The only problem is he admitted to willingly doing the debate.
And then Mark gets this guy on the live feed, and he says, "Hey, we're gonna have a little debate." I'm like, "A debate?" He's like, "Yeah, we're gonna talk about this, your perspective of religion and stuff and so on, whatever." And I'm like, "Huh?" I'm like, "Okay, whatever."
So not only did Billy once again mess up his lawsuit by admitting this, but anyone who watched the debate could see that it clearly was not an ambush. It was one-on-one, with the moderator even siding with Billy at times. His third excuse for a bad debate performance was that Mark and Wes conspired to mess up the feed whenever he had something important to say.
And then what they did was, they're pretty slick. So every time I had something really important to say or a deep question to ask, defendant number 2 video would just magically disconnect. Boop, he's off again. Oh man, he's off again. I don't know what happened. The first time it happened, I was like, that's strange, because it didn't happen when he was talking, and his video was very clear and crisp, like almost 4K.
But this doesn't really add up. The footage only shows Wes's internet freezing, and no one can even manipulate a live feed like that. This excuse only works for people who haven't watched the full unedited footage of the debate, which you can find on Wes's channel and is linked down below. His next excuse was that no one let him talk.
I might have bumbled the Barnabas text for the Sinai text or whatever. It doesn't really matter. What matters is I never got a chance to answer any questions or get my voice heard. That's what really matters. But now I'm trying to ask my question. I'm getting overridden with other texts, other words from defendant number 1. He's overriding what I'm trying to say, everything I've got to ask. He's talking over me. I'm the person that's there supposed to be in this debate. I can't even get a word in. And as soon as I say one thing, the other guy, defendant number 2, he's overriding and talking over me. I'm just sitting there patiently, just quiet. So I saw Dan at that moment. I realized, oh, this is a contrived setup video to make me look like I'm some type of dummy and I don't know what I'm talking about. So they can go bragging to all their Christian buddies and friends in their cult and, oh, he didn't know the answer to these 2 questions. Not really.
But anyone who's seen the debate knows that this just isn't true. He had plenty of time to speak. Important times for him to make his case, he still only managed responses like these.
Referring to the Gospel of Barnabas as anything other than...
If you say it's a known forgery and expert, I'm going to go with that. Let's talk about the Old Testament a little bit. That's fair enough. I can respect that. So let's go into the Old Testament a little bit.
And even in my last video of him, I have a clip of him talking for almost 4 minutes straight, uninterrupted. And finally, Billy implied that AI or deepfake technology was used to manipulate the footage.
This is a video of me speaking in Korean. 안녕하세요, 여러분. 저는 빌리 카슨입니다. 포비든 노랫개로도 알려. Very easy to do, especially when you're editing.
But that was a deepfake that Billy made. There's literally no evidence to suggest that anyone besides Billy created a deepfake of Billy. And even worse, Billy tried to obtain the footage the same night, long before he could have ever known about any supposed manipulation. So now that you've heard these excuses, you can ask yourself, if Billy truly believed these excuses, you would think that he would take the chance to prove everyone wrong now that he's recovered, right?